Welcome to Getting Sketchy Live, brought to you by thevirtualinstructor.com. And now, let's get sketchy.
Hello there, everyone. Matt here with thevirtualinstructor.com, and welcome to Gettin Sketchy Live, the greatest live broadcast in all of YouTube. I'd like to welcome everyone who's watching this live broadcast here just a week before Christmas. That's the festive outfit that I'm wearing this evening. And all of you that are watching the recorded version of this, which will be live as soon as we're done being live here on YouTube. Like always, I'm joined by Ashley, sitting right over there. How are you doing this evening, Ashley?
I'm doing great, Matt. Thanks for asking. I hope you folks are doing well as well. Looking forward to watching Matt tonight draw his reference. I'm just going to talk to you guys in the chat. I'm Santa's little helper today. So let's see what Matt has in store for us.
Yeah, and hopefully I got something great in store for you. We'll see here. We got a challenging reference image tonight. First of all, for those of you who don't know what Getting Sketchy is, it's a broadcast where two sketchy individuals, myself and Ashley, we try to create a drawing for you inside of 45 minutes, and we also try to give you some instruction too. And I will tell you that this hat is hotter than fire. I don't know if it's because I've been sick and all of the heat is escaping my head.
Big fur liner, it is. I know it's part of the outfit, but
so hot.
I think it's made for a different continent.
Yes. Anyway, I'm going to start sweating here soon.
He's got to keep it on, folks. He's got to keep it on.
Gotta keep it on. Anyway, we try to create a drawing inside of 45 minutes. We have a timer and everything, and of course, you're watching this live, so you can you can watch whatever happens here. It's always an adventure, and I'm sure tonight will be an adventure as well. But I do want to remind you that this will be the last live broadcast of the year for Getting Sketchy, because 2025 is right around the corner, and we will resume broadcasting with episode 6 of this series after the new year. So next week is actually Christmas. Next Wednesday is, and then the week after that is New Year's Day. So that's why we're pushing things off and taking a holiday break. And I hope that you guys do the same and spend some time with your friends and family and enjoy that time together. And of course, I hope you all have the wonderfulest, happiest of holidays. Anyway, what we're going to be doing tonight is a line, and we're going to be working with charcoal. Oh, if you have not already, make sure you subscribe to the channel and click on the notification bell so you're notified when new videos are uploaded. Also, if you want to get on our mailing list for thevirtualinstructor.com, I would highly encourage you to do that, because I send out emails all the time, really, on art lessons that have been added to the site. And if you're brand new to the mailing list, there is a whole slew of free art lessons that will be sent your way as well. Plus, you'll also get to check out 3 course videos and ebooks for free as well. And you'll get those immediately after signing up. There's a link in the description below to do that. And there's also a link in the description below to check out the membership program at thevirtualinstructor.com, where there are thousands of art instruction videos waiting for you. We have courses over there, which include videos, ebooks. We also have live series that are broadcast live each week. We've now just started calling them classes, so I think people have a better understanding of them. We do weekly critiques as part of the Members Minute, and there is also an entire year-long curriculum for visual arts teachers that includes everything you need to teach. You can literally, if you're an art teacher, walk into your classroom, bring up the virtual instructor, print out the handouts, play the videos, and then you can focus on being a teacher and helping your students out. All of that is included in the membership program, and you can try out the membership program for free for a week, 7 days for free. There's a link in the description below. After that, the price for membership is extremely inexpensive compared to all of the content that you get. Plus, there's a 30-day money-back guarantee. It might sound a little bit too good to be true, but it's not. Go check it out. Again, there's a link in the description below for that as well.
It's not too good to be true. It's a Christmas miracle.
It's a Christmas miracle.
Yes. And it makes a great gift.
Yes, it does make a great gift. Yes, we do have the option to gift a membership to someone that is special to you for an entire year. So you can look for that on the page where you can join to be a member. Let's see. All right. The photo reference that I'm going to be working from tonight can be found on the the YouTube community tab here for the virtual instructor. Now, to get to that, you can click on the little icon of my face in right below this video. That will take you to the community tab, and there you will see the photo reference with a convenient link back to this video, so you can grab that photo reference. If you want to draw alongside of me, of course, you don't have to do your drawing inside of 45 minutes, but that is where that is. And, you know, I have gone, Ashley, 2 days now with this thing on my nose here. Did you notice the bruising on my nose?
I didn't notice
that.
that. I didn't notice that. Yeah. Sorry.
It's okay. It's a weird phenomenon because when I look in the mirror, that's all I see is that bruise. Yet, over the course of 2 days, nobody has said anything about it.
How did it happen?
Yeah, that's a little bit of a mystery. Now, some of you might have noted that I have been sick. I probably have just had a really bad cold, but I have felt deathly ill, okay? My wife and my oldest daughter laugh at me and talk about how when men get sick, they're just invalids.
It's true, though. I turn into such a baby. So, and my wife, you know, I'll be talking to her and she'll be like, I've been sick for 4 days, and I hadn't even noticed. She just keeps going. But for me, it's a spot on the couch until I feel better.
Well, I felt deathly ill a few days ago. I felt horrible, and it was to the point where I couldn't really sleep. I
couldn't breathe.
Tons of Tylenol, couldn't breathe. No, so I had to sleep sitting up, and I put a Breathe Right strip on, which could have something to do with it. But I also wear glasses. I'm blind as a bat. I'm wearing contacts right now. So, but when I go to bed, I take my contacts out and I put on my glasses. And I usually fall asleep while I'm watching TV.
That could be it.
And I was sitting up, and I fell asleep, and I was having a wonderful dream. I was asleep, and some of you know that I love the ocean, and I was asleep on my surfboard in about 2 or 3 feet of water. So no danger of sharks, just floating out there
of the waves
on my board. Everything was calm and placid. And then in my dream, a gigantic wave came out of nowhere and like knocked me off my board. And I woke up to find my youngest daughter's head right next to my head. So she had come into our bed, and I think she hit me
in the glasses.
In my glasses. Yeah. And that's where I think this little bruise came from.
That makes sense, but you can't verify that because you were asleep.
I can't verify that, but
it's a good theory.
Yeah, you know, at first I thought it was the Breathe Right strips.
Yeah.
But
like maybe a skin reaction. You wouldn't think that would.
Oh, it's definitely not a skin reaction.
Does it hurt if you push on?
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
No, I can barely feel it. Anyway, now that's out of the way. Let's go ahead and switch over and get into this one. Keith says, did I test for COVID? And Keith, I'm scared to say the answer of I did not test for COVID because, you know, for a long time, every time one of us has gotten sick in the house, we've tested for COVID, and it's always been negative.
Right.
It's always been negative. So we have one kit left. I didn't want to waste that kit. And this could be terrible, what I'm about to say. But I coach my son's basketball team. And if I had confirmed COVID, of course, we wouldn't be doing this broadcast today.
Right, that's right.
And I wouldn't be able to coach my son's basketball team.
You don't want to know. It's better not to know.
So I'm feeling way better. I don't think COVID lasts just a couple days. No. So I really don't think it was COVID. Now, my son was sick like this a few weeks ago, or actually about a week ago. A few weeks ago, he had pneumonia.
Well, that's what I was going to say. There's been all kinds of sicknesses in our area.
Yes. Yeah.
And pneumonia's been the surprise. Pneumonia.
Yeah, but my son was sick with this for about a week ago and still has a lingering cough. And we did test him for COVID, and that was negative. So I feel pretty safe that I am COVID free. So anyway, all right, let's actually do some art here.
Yeah, let's get into this. King of the Jungle.
And I am already. I feel sweat beads.
It's the
developing on my forehead. And every time I turn, this silly ball on the back of it is like rubbing my back.
Well, it's got an extension on it.
It does have an extension. I think it's falling apart.
Long.
It's falling apart. Anyway, all right, we're going to be working on Strathmore 400 series white sulfate drawing paper.
All right.
So pretty straightforward drawing surface. And I'm going to be using a few different forms of charcoal, really just a couple. I've got vine charcoal, and I've got some thick sticks, and I've got some skinny sticks. And I also have a couple of blending tools. I have a blending stump here and a blending tortilla.
All right.
And I have a couple of compressed charcoal pencils. This one says 2B on it, and this one says 6B. To be honest with you, the differences between these two is negligible.
Yeah, I can tell the difference between some pencils with that much of a space between them, but not so much the charcoal pen. Like one will be harder, but it'll still make just as black of a mark.
Yeah, so I'm not really worried about which pencil I grab. They're both going to be pretty dark. I also have a kneaded eraser, which is going to be very important, although this one is very dry. I think I found this one on the studio floor the other day. It has a few hairs in it.
Well, if you need to borrow one, I've got mine.
I've got a couple of older ones in the desk here. I have a Tombow Mono eraser. This is just a vinyl or plastic eraser. It just gives you a little bit more precision. And the drawback to this eraser is it does leave little shavings on the surface, especially when used with charcoal. And then I've got my electric eraser here for pulling out some of those highlights. All right, so we're going to be loose with this. We're going to create more of a drawing / painting with the charcoal. So we're going to be concentrating on shapes of value, just like we would if we were working with pastel or something like that. So we're not going to be holding the charcoal like a pencil. We're going to be holding it like a pastel and making loose, quick movements and getting as much value and material on the surface as possible. I will remind you, if you are watching this live, there is a chat box. You can ask us questions. You can post comments. If you do have a question or comment specifically directed at Ashley or I, if you use the super chat function, that will go a long way to help out this channel. So, all right, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to start the timer here. 45 minutes. And there we go. So I'm going to start with one of the skinnier charcoal pencils. And I'm just going to get an idea of where the outside of the lion is going to exist. And I'm going to make quick movements here. And this is going to kind of just wipe away as the drawing develops. But I'm just kind of getting a little bit of a baseline where we're going to have some contrast between dark and light. Maybe the ear is somewhere in this vicinity. And let's see, maybe the top of the widow's peak of this lion is somewhere in here. And I'm also going to figure out where the eye is. So the left eye somewhere around here.
Right.
And the other eye is a little higher up on the picture plane. And let's see here. A little bit above center, but that's left of center. And this other eye might be a little bit smaller right in here. And
Matt, what was the paper size again?
I'm working on 7 inches by 7 inches.
Okay.
So
a 7-inch square. Those of you, following along, you don't have to use a 7-inch square. It could be larger or smaller, but at least we know it is in fact a square.
It is a square, yes. All right, let's wipe a little bit of this in here.
With the looseness and the freedom of charcoal, Matt's been able to go in and just put marks where he thinks the eyes are, knowing that he's going to be able to change and move those values around with ease.
Absolutely. And I think the tricky part of this composition here is the mane, because the mane kind of distorts where the features are going to be here, for me anyway.
Right. I mean, you've got the negative space in front of the line, but then the mane is almost like its own little negative shape that doesn't count. It's not part of the portrait of our lion. You kind of measure in from the edge where you feel like the edge of that is to those features.
Yeah, so what I'm doing here is I'm just kind of getting value down quickly, and I'm going to let the subject kind of emerge from the paper. A lot of times people will use charcoal and they think that they've got to use it like a pencil. And it really is such a loose, forgiving medium that you can be loose with it and let it forgive you for the mistakes that you make, that we all are going to make with pretty much every mark. So just let things kind of develop here. Also going to do a lot of blending and smearing.
Around a little bit. You know, charcoal, for me, I feel like it's the standard drawing medium to train artists to learn to paint, because it is so movable, like paint, different than graphite. So I love to draw with graphite, but most of my drawings during art school were in charcoal.
And I'm going to do my best to keep my sniffling and throat clearing and all that stuff to a minimum here. Because I'm, you know, the charcoal is flying.
Right, that's true.
And as a result, the sinuses are starting to go a little crazy here.
Yeah, Cubs
Santa hat doesn't help with that.
Charcoal is very messy. You could describe it as messy. It does leave evidence of itself behind. Not different from pastel. You get a whole room full of folks drawing in charcoal, and you may see it in the air.
You definitely would see it in the air. Okay, we're starting to.
All right. Well, you've already
to see a shape
got
of
a
it.
face in there.
We're starting to see it a little bit. Just going to kind of define top edge of the nose a little bit. And I feel like I'm going to build everything off of the location of the nose here. So I've just got some information down, and then I'm going to use what I feel like I've placed something that's somewhat accurate to use that as kind of a basis to make comparisons to the other things within the picture plane, the other features of the face.
That's a great process when you're not drawing with a grid, you know, just draw for a while and then start using that one feature. In this case, Matt's chosen the nose as sort of the anchor. And now he can measure parts and how far they are from the edges of the picture plane, but also from that nose. Sonia says, "You're almost finished." You know, Matt has established the face very quickly. There's still 40 minutes left, but plenty of information in this photo reference that Matt has to work with, pick and choose from.
And you know, I got these paper towels in case I wanted to spread the charcoal around the surface, but I'm using it now to clean my nose. I promise you guys, I am feeling so much better. And, you know, I filmed the Members Minute today, and I'm several days behind on that. I felt so bad that I could not even record anything. I could barely talk. But today, it's like I'm a new person. It really is like shocking how what a difference.
As soon as you start to feel better from an illness, there's a sense of joy there, you know, even though you don't feel good, you know, you're trending in the right direction. So I'm sure you feel great on the inside.
I'm definitely trending.
Even
definitely trending up.
Sniffling.
Yeah.
Janine says you should get a air purifier for your studio. Did you have one of those once?
There's one right there.
Okay, there it is. I'm looking at it.
There's not only a air purifier, but there's also a dehumidifier.
Right.
There's all kinds of air treatments going on here.
Environment. It's museum quality air in here, folks.
Definitely not museum quality.
Now, weren't there some air purifiers on the market at one time? And I don't know if they worked, but they were like ionizers or something like that. They were supposed to charge the air and make all of the particles fall to the ground, so there weren't floating particles in the air. Sounds like magic to me. But I don't remember hearing that.
I'm not sure if I know about that
line of marketing, you know, in quite a while. But I thought that would be be wonderful. All the dust particles and pollen particles hit the ground.
Okay, so I'm still putting in areas where I see just some slight changes in value, and then we're going to, in just a few minutes, we're going to get the eraser and start erasing out and establishing some of the lighter shapes of value. It's still working with the vine charcoal, and you can see the vine charcoal is very loose and easily smeared and blended, and we're going to take advantage of that here too. All right, let's find the ear here using the eye as a reference, and I just want to make sure that I've got these eyes in approximately correct location. I feel like that is pretty close. We're going to erase out some highlights around this eye in just a minute, and that should solidify that.
Yep. From Bear in the Garden. I'm wondering, are there artists, contemporary or from the past, who made their finished artwork in charcoal? You know, because I mentioned using it as a medium to learn to paint. Artists use charcoal often, or have throughout time, for studies, quick studies, value studies for portraits and things like that. Matt, can you think of an artist that shows or sells finished charcoal drawings?
From art history, not specifically, but there are a lot of artists today that work in charcoal.
It's a medium, I guess, like watercolor, that slowly became more adopted as a finished medium over time. Reba points out John Singer Sargent may have shown and sold his charcoal drawings, possibly so. An artist that comes to my mind is Seurat. And I've brought him up before on the show too because of the unique quality of his charcoal drawings. Of course, he was most famous for his pointillism, mixing colors on the surface using lots of little tiny dots, really optically mixing colors. Really, that style of painting was so innovative and unique in his day that it overshadows his charcoal drawings. But he did really great charcoal. So check out Sargent, check out Seurat.
What's so great about charcoal? You know, you guys were commenting on how quickly you can get information down. Mm-hmm. That's one of the advantages to charcoal, is because it's such a black medium, you get that full range of value pretty quickly. And that is really more of a testament to how powerful having a full range of value is. Again, I think
a lot of kids in my art classes struggle getting dark. You know, they're afraid to get too dark, but with charcoal, they can't help it. You almost can't prevent it from being dark, and they find that wide range of value. That's a good point.
If you're having trouble seeing the values, it's always a good idea to just kind of take a quick squint at your art, and that kind of simplifies the darks and the lights, and then focus on just drawing the shapes that you see when you squint. We don't have to draw all the edges of things either. All right, let's see. The mane kind of comes down. Lots of dark value over here in the corner, but we've got lots of grays, a little bit of a transition here.
Sonia points out that the charcoal sketches in her sketchbook are fading. I'm not surprised. You know, charcoal is a wonderful medium. It's also a fragile medium. So if you make some charcoal sketches in a sketchbook, you may want to remove them just so that just to preserve them. Even the shifting of paper in a sketchbook will soften a graphite drawing over time. So that's something that has bothered or irritated me before. You know, good graphite drawings I did in the beginning of a sketchbook look pretty soft by the time I finished the sketchbook off, just from walking around with it, and the paper's just slightly shifting on each other while I carry my sketchbook. So nothing wrong with tearing out your pages as you go.
Oh, King of the Jungle here. You know, they call the lion the king of the jungle, but How often do we actually see a lion in the jungle?
Oh, that's a good point. One of our guests mentioned that sometimes the word jungle, or I guess a word similar that has been translated to jungle, sometimes just means in other languages like wilderness, maybe.
King of the wilderness, huh?
So think of the lion as the king of the jungle, but maybe better to think about the lion. I don't remember who said it. Thank you. As king of the wildlands. Now, speaking of king of the wildlands, isn't there a new Lion King movie coming out? I think I've heard rumblings
I think so.
about a second installment of the Lion King.
I think it's
like the backstory.
Yeah, I think it's the same guy who did the Wicked, maybe.
Is it going to be live action? You couldn't do that.
I think so.
No.
Yeah, I think it's like not live action, but like
Okay.
animated realism.
Okay.
We'll call it. I'm gonna go ahead and get some dark value over here, just understanding that this is going to be a little bit fluid.
Okay, it looks like it was Jan mentioned that jungle has been used to mean wild areas generally. Because I read the Jungle Book, and was there a lion in the Jungle Book? I don't think so.
I don't remember.
No lions in the Jungle Book. We had Bagheera, the panther, and gosh, what was the tiger's name? Shere Khan. Great characters.
All right. Let's see. We got a nice.
Brenda points out that you can use fixative on charcoal. We were talking about it being a little fugitive, kind of running across the paper in your sketchbook. And yeah, you can use fixative on your charcoals. If you'd like to discourage them from smearing as much, it doesn't make them strong like an acrylic painting, but it does discourage smearing. Buddy asks, could you use very soft white pastel on black paper for these sketches? Would it be as fast as charcoal is on white paper? I think so. White on black is very fast.
Yeah, it's not going to be as fast because it's going to be fast still, but it won't be as fast because the vine charcoal is so soft. And the pastel is not quite as easy to manipulate. In other words, in just a few seconds, I promise, we're going to start erasing out some of the highlights and start getting a little bit more definition to what's going on here. It's going to be a little bit harder to accomplish that with pastel because pastel won't erase like the charcoal will.
Yeah, and white charcoal is very compressed, and it smears, but it doesn't smear out. Nothing smears like vine charcoal. But here on Getting Sketchy, Matt and I both choose black paper frequently enough because drawing on a toned surface or black can help us to work more efficiently and inside the 45-minute time frame. Sometimes that's a consideration.
All right, we're going to take our not our vine eraser, our kneaded eraser now, and let's see what this looks like from a different angle there. A little bit more
I love that
contrast
camera
there.
angle.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and start erasing out some of the highlights. So now, instead of looking at the darker values, I'm going to start looking at some of the lighter values and just start pulling them out with this eraser. And I'm thinking about the process of painting here when I'm doing this. So I'm thinking about painting light values with my eraser. Here on the forehead, some lighter areas. We're just going to continue to work back and forth here with the darks and the lights till we get the impression of our lion in place.
Keith asks, does your paper have a lot of tooth? This is just regular drawing paper, right?
Right. This is white sulfite drawing paper. So it's like what you would think of as regular drawing paper.
Yeah, like 80-pound drawing paper probably.
Yeah.
Something similar to what's in your sketchbook, but a little thicker. Maybe.
Yeah, specifically, this is Strathmore 400 series.
There we go. I couldn't remember.
White drawing paper.
But it doesn't have a pronounced tooth like a mi-teinte paper or
Definitely
pastel
not.
matte or
Yeah,
anything like that.
And
That's
with
why
a
it smears
more
so well.
and with a more pronounced tooth, it would be a little bit harder to get such smooth erasures. Calling them erasures for erasing them out, but it would be a little bit more difficult. The texture of the paper would play a little bit more of a role. So this paper is good with charcoal when you're doing something quick like what we're doing here. Charcoal paper, of course, is great too. But charcoal paper does have a tooth associated with it. It's got kind of a laid pattern.
Yeah, it's pretty unique and very thin. You know, charcoal paper is like 50-pound paper.
It is very thin.
It's not any thicker than a thin piece of copy or computer paper, but it has a pattern of lines very close together that help hold some of that extra charcoal, still not highly raised. I like how this image that you've chosen is a lower angle, makes the lion feel, more majestic, more kingly. And I've seen lions in zoos, and I've seen panthers or jaguars in zoos. But only recently I saw a video that had a panther and a lion together, and wow, was the lion much bigger than I think it was a jaguar. I couldn't believe how much bigger its head was. When you actually put them next to each other, you get a feel for that. So,
I'm sure.
big creature.
I'm going to use this blending stump here that's already got some charcoal on it. Give a little bit more of a finer moving around of charcoal here. Also go into this eye and move it around a little bit, move the charcoal around in there a little bit.
Keith mentions that he sometimes sort of dismisses thin paper as being, I guess, as being lighter, cheaper quality because it's lighter weight. And that's typically true for watercolor. The thinnest watercolor paper, the 90-pound watercolor paper, is usually less desirable than the heavier weight. But yeah, the charcoal is just a little bit of an anomaly. Standard high-quality charcoal paper is pretty thin stuff. Now, while you work, Richard had a comment about, your hand being on the paper. Have you been holding your hand up off the paper consciously?
I have been, yeah.
Okay, because it's not crazy big. I know sometimes you have a paper towel if you have to rest your hand on the paper.
Yeah, I've been trying to keep it out of the way.
Yeah, because the vine charcoal is just, it'll come off so easily.
It'll get all over my hands. Going to put a few indications of some of the hairs extending out.
Those are the most important ones, the ones that are at the contour of our lion, because they're really going to describe how furry he is. And then if you don't include all that fur information everywhere else in the mane, we still accept that it is fur and that it's detailed and it's fine, because we can see that along the very edge against that black. So I think that's the most important area to describe the texture. Maybe on his chin. Richard points out that sometimes he uses a maul stick. I do too. And I make, for small drawings like this, I like to make a bridge with a ruler with erasers taped to the ends. It's pretty. I mean, you can buy little bridges, that are plexiglass that you can see through. They're not too expensive, but I just tape 2 pink pearls onto the end of a ruler, and that gives me about 10 inches of space that I can hover that ruler over to rest my hand on and not smear my artwork. So, kind of a modern day maul stick.
All right, let's keep working down here, adding some highlights. Again, just thinking about kind of the shape of light value that we see. And again, squinting if it helps. It certainly helps me a lot of times.
Yeah, Sonia points out she's got the clear bridge. I had one too, and I loved it, but I dropped it, and it's plexiglass, and it cracked and broke. So I've just been using it's kind of a thick ruler, a thick wooden ruler, so it doesn't give too much. You couldn't use a thin plastic ruler. It might actually bottom out on your drawing anyway. So yeah, those clear bridges are great. Just don't drop them.
Of course, the direction that we pull the blending stump and also the charcoal material goes a long way in creating the illusion of the hair or fur.
Now, Matt told me before the program that near the end he was going to break out a red pastel and make his nose red for Christmas.
That is not true.
Rudolph, the king of the jungle. The red-nosed king of the jungle.
Those are things that don't seem like they should go together. It's kind of like, what was that movie, The Nightmare Before Christmas?
Oh, yeah.
Those are
Tim Burton.
Yeah, those are two things that just don't seem like they should go together.
And that's actually a pretty good movie.
When I first saw it, people are going to kill me for this, but when I went to go see it when I was in high school with a bunch of my friends, and I must have just been really tired, but I fell asleep.
It's only an hour and 14 minutes long.
I fell asleep. And another thing is, like, when I'm in the Christmas mood, I think it came out didn't it come out at Christmas?
Yeah, it did, because I was in high school like you, and that was my high school job. I worked at
You worked at a movie
theater. And so I saw Nightmare Before Christmas about 30 times.
Yeah. All the animation and stuff is fantastic, but the whole premise behind the movie, I had just the most difficult time getting into it.
I guess it's kind of dark and slow a little bit. By today's standards, soon movies have to kind of start with a bang for my kids to want to see them. If they start slow, if it's a slow burn, then they start losing interest fast. So I'm working on that, trying to expand their attention so they can make it into a good story. Some books, you got to read 100 pages before they start to get good at all. You get past the character development. Movies can be like that, I guess. I don't know about Nightmare Before Christmas. It's still pretty short. Orion Nebula did not like Nightmare Before Christmas, so
yeah, I'm with you.
She's in the same boat.
I can appreciate the animation. I still it's just a juxtapositioning of two things that I feel like should be separate.
Scary things and Christmas.
Yeah, I just don't think that Halloween is great. I love Halloween, and I love Christmas, but I don't want Halloween and Christmas together. Kind of like having chocolate on your pizza.
Ugh.
You know what I mean?
That never even crossed my mind.
Yeah. Right. And it also shouldn't cross your mind to take Halloween and mix it with Christmas.
Catherine feels the same. Now, with animated movies, I'll watch them just for the animation.
Yeah, I do. I do enjoy the animation.
Yeah.
I do like that, but
The technical skill. I always appreciate that.
all right. I don't want to get too wrapped up in all these little features up here. Let's go back and continue working on pulling out highlights and making shadows a little bit darker.
You haven't used your charcoal pencils at all yet.
Oh, no, not yet. I will use them, and that is, we will use those close to the end of the process when I feel pretty confident about the locations of things, and I'm ready to start, making the darkest values dark.
Okay.
Not quite ready for that yet. So the darkest values are not on the surface yet. The charcoal pencils are made up of compressed charcoal, not vine charcoal. So they are, compressed charcoal is much more permanent, and the blacks are much richer and darker. And as a result, they are harder to erase. So you want to save that to the end, in my opinion, unless you are creating a drawing that's completely made out of compressed charcoal. Right. Let's see. I got too many things in my hand.
Holding all the tools.
I'm holding everything in my hand. All right, let's go ahead and bring that highlight down here. Side that kind of defines the edge of the face. A little squint to figure out where it's the lightest. A little curl back. We'll exaggerate that a little bit. Some of these strands just kind of flow over the top. And then as we work out, again, a little quick squint, figure out where we've got those light areas of the hair popping out.
There's a wide variety in the texture of the mane.
Oh yeah, there is. So
of direction and like the shapes in there. Some are very tiny, some are a little bit larger. Really, you've got to keep your eyes on the reference. You can't just start making marks willy-nilly. Same kind of marks everywhere, because there's a lot happening there in the mane. Changes of direction and value and shape. Oh, we have a super chat from Sonia.
All right,
and
Sonia.
Thank you, Sonia. Thank you for your support. There's no comment to go along with this, but were there a comment, we would be sure to highlight it and read it on it.
There's no comment to go along with that, but there is the cheer.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right. I have been just, dilly-dallying around here, and I just looked at the clock, and there's 13 minutes left. So it's business time now. It's time to start really focusing on some of the details here.
Yeah, as you get close to the end of the time, you feel like you got to make some hard decisions. What are you gonna pull out? What are you gonna focus on?
Well, we still have to add the compressed charcoal, and I'm going to add some indications of the whiskers. I'm going to see if I can
they're very important.
Do this with the blending tool here. It's got enough on there. Just pull out a few little indications of the whiskers without going too detailed here, because our drawing's pretty loose, and if we have a really detailed area, it's going to take away from the rest of the more painterly like image. So I think some of these need to be a little bit darker.
Sonia has an interesting question. She says, which way is the right way to use charcoal paper? Elongated texture. You know how it has the lines on it. Is there a right way? Should they be vertical or should they be horizontal? Or does it matter?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all.
Yeah, that was my feeling. The paper comes the charcoal paper that I order, it may be in centimeters. So it's somewhere around 19 inches by almost 22 inches. And, if I wanted to do a larger landscape orientation, so it's wider than it is tall, and use the whole page, then the lines in the tooth would have to be vertical. They'd have to be straight up and down. Or I'd need a bigger piece of paper that I could cut that shape out of and then turn 90 degrees. So it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter at all. Kind of just suggest this ear up here. So it's still there, but it's not dominating. Add a little bit more wispiness to the hair here and there. Kind of a looser kind of painterly feel there. And let's go into the eye here. And I'm going to switch over to the charcoal pencil now. We're going to go ahead and put that pupil right in there.
It's pretty dark there in the middle.
Pretty dark.
So it looks like judging from the comments in the chat, looks like I missed a question from Cubs Win about watercolor. Possibly have we done watercolor on Gettin Sketchy? And looks like your answer is already in the chat, Cubs Win, or at least some of it. Matt did a watercolor at the very end of last season. It was the 10th drawing. He did use a pen, but it was pretty extensively watercolor was used as well in that 45 minutes. So if you want to check that out, that was part of season, let's see, that would be season 12, episode 10. And I don't know if you can search for them in that way, but in any case, is that the first time or the only time that we've used watercolor on Gettin Sketchy?
Gettin Sketchy, yeah.
That's the only one I could think of too. So it looks like folks in the chat are correct about that.
All right. We don't want our lion to look worried. So.
You didn't use those weird watercolor brushes that hold water inside of them once, did you?
No, but I have used watercolor markers, but I don't.
Maybe that's
I have used watercolor markers for Gettin Sketchy before.
Yeah, that's right. It's a little different.
It's hard to remember.
And I may do a sketch on Gettin Sketchy with oil paint this season. I was talking to Matt about it, so I brought it up twice, so it may be happening. I'm doing a oil. I know it's totally different. Watercolor and oil paint are not the same at all, but we use brushes, so I guess that's the connection. And I'm doing an oil painting right now for the live lesson series that airs on the Virtual Instructor after this program. And so I thought, if I'm going to be bringing oil paints to the studio each week, maybe I'll use them for one of our sketches. So that should be fun. And of course, you folks that like to follow along in real time, you'll be able to do that with oil paint or even with acrylic paint because of the short duration of our show. Orion Nebula says, oil sounds hard in 45 minutes. Well, we'll pick a subject that is not too challenging to draw so that we could focus on, well, I mean, you're right, takes a little bit more setup with oil paint. You can't just grab a pencil or grab a pastel and have the color. You have to mix the color, and that does take time. So that'll be a consideration in the selection of the subject. It'll be something that's more monochromatic, so there's less color mixing, or something that can be drawn relatively quickly in terms of just establishing the contours so that we could focus on the paint. We can do it. You can do it because you don't have to stop in 45 minutes. And, oil sketching, it can be done outside. You can carry your oil paints with you and do little studies and sketches.
So you can probably see how much darker the compressed charcoal is.
Mm-hmm.
How more reluctant it is to blend. So we kind of preserve the compressed charcoal for the darkest areas, but it can still be blended and moved a little bit. So I'm using the blending stump to do that. We still need to pull out some of those highlights, which are going to really pull this together. Almost ready for that. And some of these values a little bit darker, broadening the range of value just a little bit further. We'll put some of that dark value up here in the ear too. The compressed charcoal. Maybe right behind it too.
Yeah, that ear is just really, it's really defined by that shadow that's behind it. Right.
All right, let's pull out some of the lighter values, and then we're going to make some of the values darker around the body of the lion, and that will...
All right, we've got a comment from the
Complete
real
things.
Dave who says acrylic sucks. Wash is better. It's science. Oh, real Dave, I'm inclined to agree with you there. I mean, acrylic is pretty sciencey too, but I do love gouache.
Well, acrylics are permanent. Gouache isn't.
Yeah, they're
so there's that there.
Yeah,
I would hesitate to say that any medium sucks.
I know. I mean, I did an acrylic painting recently, and I really enjoyed it. So, I'm duplicitous.
I'm using the electric eraser now, which is obviously more powerful.
Oh yeah, it is. It is to the eraser what compressed charcoal is to vine charcoal, right? Strong. Now, I will tell you, real Dave, that in my own process, I have adopted using acrylic early in a painting to get my colors blocked in, and then I'll work over that with oil paint. And, you know, once you switch to oil paint, you have to stay with oil paint. You can't go back to acrylic. But it is, for me, it's been a nice addition to my process because it speeds up my process. When I block in shapes, I kind of like to start working over them after they're dry. And so I can do that in, you know, the next day or in an hour or so. I mean, I like them to be pretty dry. And acrylics, even when they're dry to the touch, they're still a little soft. So you don't want to scrub too hard with bristle brushes on acrylic if it's just barely, has just barely dried. But the acrylics are, they're pretty unique. They are good, I think, to mix with oil paint early if you use them, not mixed with, but used before oil paint early in the process of oil painting. So it's a neat medium. And for folks that really get into acrylics and get into the wide variety of medium choices that they offer, it can be a lot to learn and get some really beautiful effects that are unique to acrylic. But gouache is fantastic. Just don't get them wet.
Make our lion look a little kinder and gentler.
Yeah, he's
there.
been compared to famous lions, like in The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Is that? See, is that the lion that's named Aslan?
Aslan,
is that the right
yeah,
one?
That's right.
And boy, it doesn't get much better than being compared to that particular lion, does it?
So I'm using the electric eraser to pull out some stray, scraggly hairs to make him look a little more wild.
Yeah, he does have a. I mean, for a while, he looked like his hair had just come from the salon.
Yeah,
it looked so good,
all super style,
brushed out. You know, now he's looking tough again.
But we need to have a balance there too. So we need some of those to look scraggly, and some to be a little bit more defined. I'm going to just let things get crazy back here. There it gets all matted. Can't reach back there with the brush.
Ryan Nebula says, my office did one of those wine and paint classes a while back. Interesting, but not the best of materials. I've never done one of those.
No,
to me,
those
art and drinking just doesn't go together.
Yeah, that's art for people who aren't artists.
Right, they're going to be happy. no matter what, because they're making themselves happy as they paint.
And that's, making art is a fun thing to do.
Yeah.
So I think that that's a great thing to do. But that's not serious. It's not a serious.
Right. So that's why I imagine you probably didn't have the best materials to work with.
Yeah, but it's still fun to make and be creative with.
And it is fun to do it with other people. You
Right.
know,
Yeah.
some of the most fun I had was drawing with other people in school. You know, when I was a student, looking at other people's artwork right there in the room, people who are working on the same subject. So the fellowship of artists is something we probably don't talk about enough because so many of us work alone. An artist can be lonely sometimes. So if you find reasons to, whether it's Van Gogh and Merlot, I think that's the name of one of those types of businesses, or you sign up for a figure drawing class. It's great to get out and draw and paint with other people. But I'd be a little worried about drinking and drawing. Not because I would just be afraid my drawing would go sideways and I wouldn't be able to get it together or care. She says I didn't drink with it. They provided the supplies, so I can't complain about the cost. Well, that's great.
All right. So we're going to go all the way around here and establish these really dark areas around it. And hopefully our lion will be popping out of the surface there when we get all these dark values in place. And I'm just going to kind of go around and clean up the edges and also blend the compressed charcoal into the surface. But we're going to keep it loose and expressive around the edges.
All right. Well, that
I hope I don't have to
strong
sharpen this
value
pencil
really makes
again.
the highlights come out now. Got our full range value established.
And also the medium values too. The medium values that exist.
Yeah, the medium ones, they're like the
And the
glue
hair down
of an
there.
artwork. You know, they really hold it together. I like really graphic imagery that's just black and white sometimes, but sometimes you have to look at it for a minute or two to make sense of it without those midtones. Lord Engine says, I'll keep the booze and the art separate unless I'm using wine as a medium. And the real Dave says he's heard of using coffee as a medium. For sure. Yeah, sure.
There used to be a really old live lesson series where I used coffee.
You did a coffee painting?
And that has since been taken off the site. It's just because it was so old,
Oh,
you know.
okay.
It was one of the really old ones.
Yeah, I guess any liquid that stains, we can always make washes with.
Right, let's get some of these dark values down here. Underneath the beard. We'll probably pull a few stray hairs out again. We're going to let this be loose. Kind of mimic the rougher, coarser texture of the hair.
We've got a question from Enrique.
And just blend into each other. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Hi, Matt and Ashley. Do you know any advantages to using the Pitt matte pencils of Faber-Castell?
I have some pencils that are similar to the matte pencils.
That's what I was wondering, the ones that you've been using lately.
And there is an advantage, and that advantage is that the blacks are darker and there is less shine. There's still a little bit of shine. And I think what we've kind of speculated is that those pencils are a combination of graphite and carbon. So they are kind of a mixture, and the carbon content is what kind of keeps the shine down, but there is still a little bit of shine associated with it. Now, I haven't used the ones by Faber-Castell. The ones I have them in my drawer. Maybe I can pull them out in just a minute, but they are similar. I'm sure they are similar. I'm sure that they're the same product. I think mine are by Stadler. I'm not real sure. I'll pull them out in just a minute after I finish this drawing. Even though the time's up, the time is up.
The time's been up for a bit.
For a bit. It hadn't been up that long.
Not that long.
Because I've been, when I started the background, I had like 2 minutes left.
Something like that.
So yeah, not too bad, but I just want to get this dark area.
Right. I knew the time didn't matter. You were going to have to get down into that corner.
Yeah, got to get this. And I really need to resharpen the pencil, but that would require using the blade and the sandpaper pad. I'm just going to.
We don't have time for that.
I don't have time for that. Just use what I've got left here.
Enrique, one of the great advantages, I guess, to those pencils that shine less for Matt and I is that we're trying to show you guys our drawings over the internet, and so there's really bright lights, and we struggle with regular graphite sometimes. Matt has gone so far as to raise the angle of his drawing table, and then gone further than that to add an additional tilted surface on top of the drawing table. So if for any reason the shininess of graphite is a problem for you, and maybe it's just a personal problem, you just don't like having to move your head around in order to see the values, the true values, then I think those are good alternatives, even if they may have a slightly different tactile feel on the paper than a traditional graphite pencil. Oh, and Reba has addressed that feel. She believes that the Faber-Castells feel a little more scratchy than the Staedtler variety.
I don't think I'd like that additional scratching.
Right, that's what bothers me. I like the smooth glide of graphite on a piece of paper.
Okay, so if we were to continue this drawing, I would probably do this with the eraser quite a bit, and then just take a thin blend over the top.
Yeah.
And then continue that process
Just knock them down
over and over again until I got all of those little hairs to have some depth. Because some of them are going to be lighter. Some
Here's
darker.
this. It's great.
That's a tiger.
That's Tony the Tiger.
Tony
Is
the
that Tony
Tiger.
the Tiger?
The taste of Tony's Frosted Flakes brings out the tiger in you and you. Are great.
Oh, that's good, man.
Yeah.
That's good. You remember the whole thing. Those jingles.
I can't
from the
remember all
80s
of
and
them.
90s, I tell
You'll
you
show them what you can do. The taste of Tony's Frosted Flakes brings out the tiger in you. We always ate imitation cereal in my house, you know.
Jan says, this is an amazing artwork. It's actually been great for 40 minutes now. Right? I mean, it looked like a lion after 5 minutes. It's just been continuing to change.
All right, I'm gonna be finished there, and we'll zoom out a little bit, and I'll take the tape off.
Okay.
So
It's always
zoom out
fun.
just a little bit, and we'll remove the tape. Although, you know, there's not gonna be incredible contrast, but yeah, we'll see. All right, so I had taped my pants ahead of time. And so that's a little trick that you can do is just get a little layer of lint on the tape. It's probably hard to see that. There's a little blue tint to it because I'm wearing blue jeans. And then the second little tip is just to pull the tape away at a 90-degree angle from the artwork. So, you know, here at the bottom, that's going to be straight down.
Low and
Like
slow.
this. Yeah, and just pull it straight away. And you know, sometimes the paper is still going to tear a little bit, but it won't tear your artwork if you tear the tape that way. So even if a little bit of the paper comes up, it won't take your artwork with it. So last little piece here. Since it's the last little piece.
There we go.
All that's left there, so you can see some of the
All right, very
contrast.
nice,
there.
nice and
The
sharp.
Contrast does look
Mhm.
not too bad. So if we went outside of the lawns here. We went outside of the lions here. All right, let's look at it from this angle. Everybody likes this camera
I know,
better.
that camera
And
looks
sorry I
so
didn't
good.
switch over to that camera.
Yeah. Especially
very
for
often
black
here.
and white work, it really looks great.
With working quickly, yeah, especially for black and white work, you can really see the contrast there. So,
All right, very
charcoal's
nice.
a wonderful medium to work with. You can get a lot of information down quickly, get that range of value down quickly, and you can see I don't think I drew. Oh gosh! Cheers still on. How many times have I done that? Anyway, the cheer's fine.
Has there been audio with that cheer the entire?
Oh yeah. It goes.
The whole time.
No, not the whole time. It plays once.
Okay.
But once I play it, I got to turn it off
Yeah.
to play it again. Anyway, one thing that I want you to take away from this is that a lot of us feel like we need to draw like we do with a pencil and draw lines and draw edges of shapes and so on. And I don't think we did any of that here. You know, it was all just putting material down and manipulating it back and forth to arrive at this finished image. You know, when you look at it, there's some it's not exactly the same as a reference. It's not even close. Like this edge right here needs to come over a little bit. I think I made the relationship between the two eyes a little too extreme. But that's fine. Those things don't matter as much as you think they might matter, especially when we're creating a sketch like this. So when you're working with charcoal, loosen up, have fun, let things happen, let your drawing kind of be pulled out of the surface of the paper as you manipulate it with erasers and adding more charcoal to the surface. All right, is that it? Have anything else?
Let's see. Patricia says, beautiful drawing, Matt. Valerie says, looks great. Bear in the Garden, love it. And Barb says, you should fix it of it and frame it. Matt might frame it, but he does not use fix-it.
I am not a fixator.
He's just very careful with his drawings.
Well,
now if you mat it and put it behind glass, it doesn't need any fix-it.
I doubt I'll frame this, but I'll keep it. But the thing with me and fixative is that fixative changes the value of the drawings. You know, it typically makes the values darker.
Matt's perception of value is so subtle that he cannot stand the slightest change from what he intended.
You know, for me, it's really the pastel drawings. You know, when you put fixative on pastel, it can really change the value. You know, with a charcoal drawing, it's not going to be as extreme.
Interesting.
But with the pastel drawing, it is. And I've done experiments with it in the past, and I've wrote about it on the blog. And you can see it's a really old article, but I do have an article or lesson or whatever you want to call it on the blog at the Virtual Instructor that takes a look at fixative. And I think it's on the blog. It might have been in a Members Minute episode. I'm not real sure. But I did explore it, and I showed before fixative and after fixative, and the differences are very noticeable.
Even after you gave it a little time to evaporate.
Oh, after it was completely dry.
Like permanently changed.
Yeah, permanently changed the values. Yeah. And I'm not alone in that. There are other people that complain of the same thing.
When I use fixative, I don't even know if it does anything. I use extremely light passes of fixative, like 24 inches away, you know, and maybe that's why mine still smear, because I believe it only slightly discourages smearing. But I also I use a very little amount, because I have seen my students just get too close with it or spray too many coats, and even with it'll actually make charcoal shiny if you use too much fixative, and that is you've gone way overboard if your charcoal drawings start to shine.
Yeah, so I just don't use it, and never had a problem not using it. So
all right, very good.
All right, let's switch over. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed that episode of Gettin Sketchy. Drop down a little bit further. I feel like I'm going down a chimney. For those of you who are going to join us for the live lesson that follows, we'll see you guys in just a minute. For the rest of you, we will see you in 2025, and I hope that 2024 goes out like a lamb and 2025 comes in like a lion. That was bad. Sorry about that. Ashley, you have anything else for the folks?
We kept the hat on for the whole hour.
We did. Yeah, I did.
My forehead's pretty itchy right now. I don't know. I guess this is felt. Looks like it was made in 1972, but it's got ears. That's great. Yeah, I don't know if it's going to make it over the next hour.
Somebody I know probably made that, actually.
So it's been through it, but we kept it on. We did it for you guys. So hope you have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and we'll see you back here in 2 weeks or in 20 minutes. The live lesson.
Yeah. Absolutely. If you like this video, make sure you give it a like. And if you're watching the recorded version, leave a comment below and tell us what you think about the drawing or what you'd like to see on Gettin Sketchy. We're always open to ideas as long as they're within the realm of reality. Guys, I hope you have a wonderful start to your new year. And just think, we've got a new year coming up, and it's always a good time for people to make New Year's resolutions. But remember, every single day that the sun comes up is another opportunity for you to make positive changes in your life. So I hope you guys have a wonderful, happy new year. Happy holidays to everyone. Good night, everybody.